I have a confession to make. Up until recently, I'd never finished a Doom game. Why am I so ashamed to admit that? Well, it's because I've always admired the series for its often groundbreaking, high-octane gameplay and iconic soundtrack. So I thought with the release of Doom: The Dark Ages, I'd at least try to complete the franchise's previous entry, Eternal, before taking the plunge. And wow, was I missing out. Everything was so over the top in the coolest way possible. From the satisfyingly disgusting glory kills to the way humans quake in fear as the Doomslayer approaches. I had so much fun stepping into this immensely creative world, and it gave me a tremendous first impression of the series. But with the Dark Ages making massive changes to gameplay and lacking the music of Mick Gordon, could it possibly live up to what came before it? Well, I certainly think so. You might think that with the game's more grounded tagline of stand and fight, combat might feel a little slower. But I promise everything is still incredibly fast-paced and intense, but perhaps more measured and impactful in this new entry. There's a real weight to the movement now that you'll notice immediately after crashing into the ground, violently shaking your screen, and damaging nearby enemies after each and every jump. Is it better or worse than in Eternal? I'm not really sure, but it is very different, and that's a good thing for keeping things fresh. The biggest change to combat comes in the form of the shield saw, most notably letting you parry enemy projectiles and even acting as a very satisfying ranged weapon. On top of this pretty massive change, there have also been efforts to diversify gameplay with turret, mech, and dragon sections. Honestly, these don't quite match up to the tried and tested signature FPS combat, but I did thoroughly enjoy them for the variety and spectacle alone. One of the more divisive changes to the format in this new entry is a focus on storytelling through cutscenes, mainly featuring characters other than the Slayer. This definitely won't be for everyone, but I suppose it is a more accessible style of presentation compared to previous installments. Ripping and tearing through demon blood and guts has also never looked better, with some incredible visuals and destruction physics. The mandatory ray trace lighting also creates some appropriately dark and depressing environments, often drenched in realistically reflective rain. I really do believe that this is yet another great entry in the series, and I'm glad the critics and other players seem to agree.
Moving away from the Dark Ages and into the lands between, the other major release of May was Elden Ring Nightreign, a free-player co-op spin-off of the 2022 Game of the Year. Breaking quite significantly from the games that came before it, Nightreign is essentially a hero-based roguelike, where you team up with two other players to take down increasingly difficult bosses over the course of 3 in-game days. Reset after each match, and rinse and repeat. So just how does it translate into the genre? According to critics, apparently pretty well. With a score of 78 on Metacritic, it's definitely not perfect, but looks to be a fun experience if you've got a couple friends to play with. Moving on to some of the lesser known May releases, starting with the Precinct. This is a top-down neo-noir action sandbox game that's been compared to playing as the police in an early GTA game. It's met a mixed reception from critics, but has fared a lot better with players, as 85% of them recommend it on Steam.
One of the smaller releases of May was The Midnight Walk, but still, it's one of the most fascinating games I've played all year. With a beautifully dark claymation art style using real models 3D scanned into the game, it proudly takes inspiration from the style of Tim Burton, and absolutely lives up to some of his best work. I posted a full video review earlier this month and had nothing but praise. The first piece of DLC for my personal Game of the Year Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 released earlier this month. Titled Brushes with Death, it follows a painter with a very interesting past. I really enjoyed getting to the bottom of his life's various mysteries, and for just $5 for around 10 hours of content, you really can't go wrong. Apparently, future DLC will be even bigger than this, and honestly, I can't wait.
So what do we have to look forward to next month? Well, with the release of the Switch 2, you can expect a bunch of upgrading the newly ported titles taking advantage of the improved hardware. On other platforms, we have Dune Awakening on the 10th, Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic on the 13th, and Death Stranding 2 on the 26th. If you'd like to keep up to date with all these titles and more, please make sure to consider subscribing.
Thank you for watching, see you next month.